89%. 89%. 89% of first-generation, low-income college students won't graduate with a college degree in 6 years. 89%. Think about that. 89% of these students who graduated from high school, filled out that college application, some got a loan, some awarded some scholarships, moved into the residence halls, attended orientation, met that first midterm, scared to talk to that professor, failed their first final. 89% of these students will not become college graduates. I still remember my experience as a first-generation college student, taking me to that time, the day that my mom drove me from Memphis, Tennessee to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I had so many thoughts and feelings and questions that were going through my mind as I'm looking at this woman who immigrated from La Ceiba, Honduras, and raised 3 children by herself in probably one of the worst neighborhoods in Memphis, Tennessee. Could I really do this? Could I really become a college graduate? She didn't have the opportunity to do this, and I have the audacity to actually try. And to think I chose a school in Mississippi? Immediately coming to my mind are Mississippi Burning and all these different movies that I'm trying to figure out, and seeing Klansmen and crosses burning, and do I really want to do this? And as we're traveling what seemed like a lifetime, 4 hours from Memphis, Tennessee to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I continued to have these thoughts and these fears and trying to understand, is this what I really wanted to do? As I'm watching that Tennessee landscape change, and suddenly I crossed over the state line to Mississippi, and no more tall buildings, just trees. And I'm starting to really wonder, is college really for me? And as I'm thinking about this and looking outside of that window in the back seat, I can see my mother right here on the side, constantly staring back at me. And that's exactly what I needed, to know this was the right step that I was trying to go. So we pull up to the residence hall that I'm about to stay in, and it's this huge, massive structure. And the people, oh, so many people, so many different types of people that I had never seen before, definitely not back in Memphis where I'm from. And everyone's unloading their different things and pulling them out, from TVs to bikes to laptops to desktops to huge amounts of clothes. And as I opened the truck door to my mother's boyfriend's truck, he pulls out my green trunk. That's all that I had. That's all that I had to start 4 years of college. And in that trunk were 2 of the most memorable things to me. One, I had, for the very first time, my very own iron. Not just any iron, right? Beautiful, white, silver-plated, automatic shut-off, multiple dials, iron. I didn't have to share with my brother or my sister. This was mine. If I wanted to iron at 3 o'clock in the morning, I could. And the second thing that was the most dear to me was this cherry red Jan Sport rolling backpack. My mother surprised me at home one day and rolled it out for me. And I don't know if you're like me, but I get really excited about office supplies. So when I saw the different pockets that were in there, I was excited. So I rolled my red backpack in the residence hall. Fast forward to the first day of class. The location of my biology 101 class, because I was a veterinarian major, that quickly changed 3 times over. But the location of this building was not a traditional college location. See, my other classes had these tall buildings, and you step inside to these long hallways, and you have classes aligned on each side. But this location, I'm standing there in the middle of campus with my map, because that's what freshmen do. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm going and looking, and I'm following the path that our orientation person provided us as I'm walking, and all of a sudden I stop in front of this huge white house. I've got to be in the wrong place. And I'm looking at the map and I'm looking at my schedule, and this is where I'm supposed to be for Biology 101. Huge white house with a white picket fence in the front. I go back to the Mississippi burning. Guys, my heart is beating. This colored girl standing in front of this white house and this picket fence and daisies on the side. I don't know if college is for me. So I decided to enter that gate, and of course it had to squeak as I'm opening it up. And I'm walking up the path, and there's these white stairs, and I kid you not, there's a porch with white rocking chairs on both sides. I go up the stairs and I go inside, open up the screen door of this Mississippi house, and trying to find my class, and I'm scrolling down, and Biology 101 is in the basement. Really? Really? So to the right is the basement. I open the door, and the stairs are quite old. As I go down again, they squeak just like that gate, squeaking. The ceiling gets lower, my breath gets stronger, and my heart starts beating faster and louder, and I get down and I start to see a light, and thank God there are already students in the class and I'm not by myself. And I see a seat right in the front in the middle that's open. Now, my mother couldn't tell me much, and there's not much that I know about college, but one thing I know, if you want to be a part of something, you sit in the front. So I took that middle seat, and when I sat down, there were two young ladies already engrossed in a very interesting conversation. So I sit down and I start unpacking and taking out my books and my office supplies and taking them out of each compartment, and all of a sudden I start to hear their conversation. And that was the moment that I heard it for the very first time. Legacy. Legacy. I had never heard this word before, but the young lady on the right, she said, I'm legacy, in her southern voice. I'm legacy because my father lived in the same residence hall that I now live in, and he is a doctor. And the young ladies on the right side agreeing and saying, well, I'm legacy because my mother pledged this sorority that I plan on pledging. As they're having this conversation about what their mother and their father told them about going to college and how to be successful, I continue to sink deeper into my seat. My shoulders hunched over, and I try my best to disappear. I can't even join a simple conversation about legacy with my peers. This place isn't for me, not as a first-generation college student trying to get this degree. And so the professor comes in, and he immediately tells us to take out our books and says, pop quiz. First day of college, really? Pop quiz? And he starts asking all these different questions, and to my surprise, I actually knew the answer. I guess HOSA in high school was probably a good club to join because I actually knew what he was talking about. You see, first-generation college students don't always know the questions to ask. We walk around on campus all day with this huge and heavy imposter's mask, trying to figure out just who we are and trying to understand just by far first-generation college student. But this is something that I all want you to understand about this imposter's mask. When you're standing up there and you're trying to understand who you're supposed to be and understand this first generation college student identity, these thoughts and these feelings, it's hard as they run through you. And you're trying to look all around and trying to figure out, what do I do? As a first generation college student, my mother didn't have this opportunity to impart with me, and without her guidance, I was lost. I'm going to class, reading the syllabus. I got my first F my first semester. This is college success, but at what cost? Because everyone else all around me, they had it all together, and here I am, the first. And that pressure back in Memphis, Yolanda, you got this. We're looking for you. You're going to be the first graduate in college. That pressure, that's the worst. But scholar, oh pioneer, think about it. That's the entire reason that you're here. You're a success, a trailblazer, first generation, first in the family and all. You got to keep getting back up no matter how many times you'll fall. And you'll fall. Oh, you'll fall. Because challenges will come. That's just the reality of life. But you got to plant your feet firm, stay focused, reach out for help, because success will come in spite. And when I see the hashtag #FirstGen tweets posted all over Twitter of today's first generation college students who feel the same way I felt way back then, and sometimes even more bitter, the frustration of their situation as they're trying to figure out this first generation identification, it's a feeling of suffocation just beyond our red, white, and blue nation. And you try to understand this whole entire identification. And the research that I sought out, it wasn't much better with all these extracurricular vocabulary. The originality or the identity and the validity and reliability and everything that I'm supposed to be as a first generation identity. But honestly, all I ever wanted them to see was me. 89%. 89%, that's a lot. But there's a certain percentage that some of you in this room may have forgot. 11%. 11% is a statistical number that I hold dear. 11% of us will succeed, will graduate, and trust me, that's the entire reason that I'm here. So if you can imagine, just imagine with me for a moment, what would happen if more first generation started to get a higher education? That 11 moves from 12 to 13 to 15 to 20, and it trickles down to an entire nation. From generation to generation, all because of a college graduation. So I'm standing before you today to say, and if there's any first gen in the audience who understands what I'm trying to say on this National Day of First Generation Appreciation Day, you got to continue to pick yourself back up. And don't let anyone change who you are. Because first generation college students, you're a superstar. And I want to thank the educators out there who imparted in me, helped me to see what potential I could possibly be. And now today, as a professor at the University of Houston, go Cougs, I have a chance to impart the same thing in first generation college students to succeed. And help this first generation college student earn not one, not two, but come May 2019, a 4th college degree. Thank you.